Hello, we are live with another episode of Espresso with Erin and Sarit. I'm Erin.
And I'm Sarit, and welcome to the show. It's been a couple of months since we've done this on a morning.
On a morning, also on a Friday.
On a Flex Friday.
And today's topic is about stress. There's a lot and stress, I feel like, is one of those topics where people talk about it. And we're like, yeah, I know that stress is not good for my results. But for one, like, how does it actually impact you in a way that you give a shit? Feeling aggressive today. Wow.
Yeah.
And
ain't nothing wrong with aggressive.
Like, what do we do about feeling stressed? This is a beautiful topic because I know that the last 2 weeks has been quite wild for both of us.
Yeah.
And so it's perfect that we get to share what have we gone through, how have we navigated it with ourselves, what's the dialogue we have inside our heads, and how does that really benefit our bodies, benefit our minds, and benefit our lives to manage our stress in a way that supports us and doesn't overtake us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how about you talk a little bit about what has gone on over the last nearly two weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'll be right back, actually. Start.
Yeah. So you may or may not have noticed that last week during Espresso, I was not present. It was just Erin. We had a very special guest interview, and if you were live, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did not yet get caught up, then I would encourage you to check out our YouTube because the recording is there. Simply head over to YouTube, look for Erin and Sarit, and just hit the live tab, and you'll be able to find it. And the reason why I was not there is because
it was so good, by the way. It was a really great episode.
Yeah, I know. I heard. So a lot has transpired since the Stay on Track challenge and Erin's birthday. The week of the Stay on Track challenge. Talk about life happening. Day number 2, every single morning I talk to my mom, and that morning, just checking in with her, like, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Stuff like that. And she was giving me an update about something that happened to my grandfather and how he's on he's been on a decline for quite a bit of time, and how things have worsened. And she just got out of the hospital, and she wasn't sure what the consensus was going to be. And literally in a matter of 8 hours, it went from a little bit of uncertainty to, okay, like, you probably need to head over there. And before we knew it, come Thursday night, day 4 of the Stay on Track challenge, he ended up passing. So I ended up getting a ticket to go to Israel.
Mind you, we already had tickets to go to Israel
next week.
2 weeks after this event.
Mm-hmm. So my dad really wanted me to be there. Obviously, it's like, family matters. Just do what you got to do. Then basically just go handle your stuff. So I told Erin, hey, like, stay here, take care of the dogs. And also it's going to be like a really sad week. And I was born and raised in a Jewish family, and in Judaism, when there is a passing of someone for 7 days, there's actually like a thing that we do. So the mourning is very, very heavy.
The mourning, like not morning
not
time,
like good morning,
but like morning.
Yeah,
soul.
It's very heavy. So it's a very heavy week, and I'm like, hey, just stay here. Let me handle that. So
also trying to find somebody for the dog. So we were debating. We were like, okay, well, do we just go there early and be there for 2 or 3 extra weeks? That's a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then how are we going to handle the dogs? Like, it just makes more sense. You go, come back, I'll stay here,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll go again.
Yeah.
Which was supposed to be Tuesday, but we'll talk about what happened with that too.
Yeah. So anyways, so I ended up flying over headed out Sunday because of time difference. By the time I got there, it was Monday afternoon, and then straight all, family matters all the way up to all the way till Friday night. And death is a very interesting thing. By the way, if you're here live with us, go ahead and drop a good morning and tell us where you're coming from so that we can see who we're talking to. But what I realized is experiences of either like loved ones who are near a death situation or just a death situation in general, at least for me, makes me really take a closer look at my life and how I lead it every single time. So it's been a very, very interesting season, to say the least, with a lot of introspection. And and then I ended up coming back because obviously I chose to come back on Saturday because we've had a really, really hectic week. I just wrapped up a leadership training intensive that I was mentoring in over the last 6 months. And I'm like, of course, I'm going to be there for the last piece of it. And we've actually had 2 clients come for a VIP day to visit us. One on Tuesday, one on Friday. So I'm like, obviously, I got to get back home.
One today in less than an hour.
Yeah. And
so can I recap this like series of events? Because this whole topic is about like stress, how to manage stress, how stress impacts your body composition or your fat loss results or goals. And what do we do to handle it? So let me just take you through this really quick. Stay on Track Challenge started on March 3rd, beginning of March. Okay. So here's what's gone on since then. Not only we're like preparing for things up until that point, but then we're executing on this challenge all week. The 4th day of the challenge, Sarit's grandpa passed. Within a few days, she flew to Israel. She was there for a week, came back. So I'm here handling things by myself at home, doing espressos, the dogs, all the stuff.
Coaching calls,
clients. And then she comes back. And then we have a crazy week because we're scheduled to leave in 3 days to go to Israel.
No, 4 days.
Okay, so on whatever next Tuesday is, the day we're recording this is the 21st of March, which is my little brother's birthday. Hi, happy birthday. Everybody say happy birthday to Scott Atwood in the Facebook group, okay?
And one of the reasons why I told you to stay is because he was coming.
So Scott came. Scott came 2 or 3 days after Sarit left. So he was here. So I'm like doing work, but also like harmonizing. How do I hang out with him, spend time with him, connect, but not get behind on work stuff, trying to actually get ahead because we're going to be gone for 3 weeks out of the country. So then Sarit comes back. She's here for a day, a full day with Scott before he leaves. Then he left the next day, which was Monday this week. Now we're on Friday this week. Tuesday this week, we had a client here all day. And then Wednesday, Thursday, today we have a client coming in less than an hour. And then we have also L-Dub is coming because she's going to kick it with the doggos. And so we're going to hang out with her for the weekend. And then we leave Tuesday. Originally, we were going to leave Tuesday for Israel. However, now
there's a lot of things in the air. So we're going overseas and
the war like escalated again over there. It was like it calmed down. There was a ceasefire. Okay, great. 3 weeks is a long time to be in the Middle East where everybody wants to kill each other. And so we're like, maybe we figure out the situation. So then we're handling that while also like taking care of you guys, serving you guys, and taking care of ourselves, getting our workouts in, hydrating, sleeping, and then you had a leadership graduation, 3 days of intensive where you're going to bed late, like just weird hours, fully in service to that group of people. And it's like, dang, that's a lot. And now we're on March 21st and it feels like it's been a year. It feels like March has been a year long month.
Yeah, it's been definitely an eventful series of events. And why are we saying all of that? Because we want to really just show you
I'm
that
just painting the picture
yeah,
of like everything that's gone on.
Life happens, right? And there are also seasons in life where stress levels are higher, and there are seasons in lives where stress levels are lower. And the question is, how do we manage ourselves through all of this? By the way, I want to thank you for holding down the fort over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I feel like I was being pulled in so many different directions, and I'm just very ungrounded. I'm like literally.
You may notice that the image that is for this episode says yesterday. And I'll tell you, I had a really tough day yesterday. It just was, we all have these days. I made a post about it on my own personal page. Some of you may have seen. I didn't really go into detail, but I just felt like eating my feelings. And I thought that was a very relatable thing. And I also was just displaying what I do to not eat my feelings and creating public accountability for myself. Because even though one day is not really going to throw me off or ruin my life. And also, we don't keep things in the house that are really that bad. So it wouldn't have been that bad. It's just
you would binge eat on almonds,
probably nuts, cashews, and almonds. But the point is that, which is this, it doesn't matter what the food is. It's the concept of I'm avoiding my feelings or trying to mask or put a Band-Aid on or make myself feel better for something. And that's not the intention that is healthy to eat food in. So all of this, okay, when I say it out loud, it actually sounds, so yesterday I was like, I don't want to do another espresso episode by myself. I do not feel like peopling. I don't want to do it. And so it's like, let's move it to tomorrow and we'll do it together. I said, okay, perfect. So here we are, which is great.
Yeah, I missed you guys.
So
can I lead into step number 1? Because I was just thinking about it from a big picture standpoint. So, the first question that I just asked myself is, other than my routine, which will let you in on that and how that helps, at least me, to manage my mind through a stressful season.
I don't think, did you miss any workouts in that time either?
0.
Neither of us missed a single workout in 0. all of that.
0. I did not binge eat or self-sabotage a single time either.
Me neither.
Yeah. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Because we are real people just like you. And the first and foremost is do not when it comes to, so like I would say the last 2 weeks, like heavy promo period with a challenge where there's thousands of people coming in. Meanwhile, like family is on the brink of, basically I would say worst case scenario, which is very unfortunate, but it's a part of life, and a lot of messy things around it. The first thing that I did is I took one day at a time. And if I was to think one day ahead or 1 week ahead, I would have driven myself insane. So whenever you find yourself walking through what I would say a 10 out of 10 level of stress in your life, first of all, focus on right now, because right now is all you have. And something that I found, just throughout my life is when I am in a really stressful situation, when I focus on the past or the future, I actually create more stress. So the only thing I have is the right now. And the question that I ask myself is, who do I get to be and what do I get to do in this moment? I'm not even like talking about 3 hours from now. It's like, yes, at least within the day, I kind of want to have an idea. Like, for example, when we were mourning and we were in Israel, like there were some things that I didn't know every single day, like when I was going to head to my grandma, stuff like that. But I did have my non-negotiables. You know what I mean? So that I could create that level of adaptability and flexibility and basically take care of me while I take care of other people. So first thing to note is take one day at a time. Don't look at your life 1 month ahead, 1 year ahead. And this is
depression is fueled by you living in the past, and anxiety is fueled by you living in the future.
Yeah.
Not right now, which is the only moment any of us are guaranteed and even know it's full truth of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to add with regards to that?
Well, I thought you were still going. I just wanted to add that.
No. So the first thing to note is taking life when you're stressed out as one step at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time. And the second thing is at the start of the day, every single day, I set an intention. And that gives rise to everything that I do. Now,
what does that intention look like?
Yeah.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, I'm going to get to action steps in just a second. The intention is the big picture standpoint of who do I want to be in the world today? So, for example, when I was in Israel, what really mattered to me was to be connected, loving, and supportive for my family. Okay. That was my intention. While it felt like everything was falling apart, what also really mattered to me was to be disciplined and be trusting the process, right? So that every time if I got a sense of anxiety, and by the way, I did, for me.
Because why? What was going through your head that caused anxiety? I'm just going to prove a point right now of what I said like 3 minutes ago.
I would focus beyond this moment.
Like what though? What went through your mind? What is the literal story that you, like scene that you were taking yourself through that caused the anxiety?
Well, I'll tell you, and this is really vulnerable, but it's like seeing my dad mourn his dad, and just for those of you who've been in the community for a while and you know my story, and like my dad's heart attack was my awakening moment. So that experience was very visceral for me, and it like there would be points in time where I'm like, your time is coming.
So you're living in the future.
Yeah.
Anxiety is fueled by you living in the future. You're thinking something's going to happen that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And you're just making yourself sick.
Yeah. So, that I had every single night over there, I had extreme anxiety. I could not fall asleep. And of course, 7-hour time difference, stuff like that. So it was really, really challenging. So I would set an intention so that every time my mind will want to go and control the situation, because our minds do that. That's what makes us feel safe. Having control, I would go back to like, hey, what's your intention today? Trust. God forbid if something was to happen right now, like, is there anything that how will I handle it? Okay, got it. So I took myself through that scenario. And then I'm like, don't try to control that situation, because that time is going to come for all of us. So instead, just be grateful and be present in this moment. Now, easier said than done, right? But that's the conversation that I will have in my head, where I would coach myself as I was, basically in Hebrew we say like running movies, right? Like reading all these stories. So, it allowed me to reel myself in. So every single day I would get grounded on my intention based on what was going on in my day. By the way, this is something that I do every single day, no matter what, because it allows me to reel myself in. And then at the end of the day, I check in with myself like, hey, how did I stick to my intention? What worked, what didn't work? So that, I'm constantly able to pivot and shift on a dime. Because here's the thing, you guys. There's a lot of things in life that are beyond our control. A lot of things in life are beyond our control. One thing that is always within our control is choice.
Hold on. I'm going to take it further, because I used to think that. I don't think that anymore. I think you only have a choice when you're consciously aware of you.
That's good. Okay.
You only can choose when you are aware. Most people are living their lives unconsciously, going through the motions, unintentional, not like on autopilot. Their decisions are made by uh, who they think they are, that align with the story of the stories that they created about their self-identity. And when you're in that autopilot, you're not actually conscious of the decisions you're making, which means it's not a choice. It's an autopilot decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And speaking
Hopefully
about,
you can like understand the distinction between the two.
that's good. Thank you for that. And I totally agree. That's the difference between leadership and being victim, right? It's like leadership is really knowing that I have the choice at any given moment, right? Especially in this country, we all do. Millions of people in this world actually do not. Do not. So, like the way that I look at it is no matter what choice I make, it's a learning experience and it's a gift because that allows me to authentically be myself. So that's thing number one with regards to choice. Thing number two with regards to choice is we get to choose our attitude. That's the whole premises of Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning.
But it first requires consciousness.
It does require consciousness. Yeah. If you haven't read that book, highly recommend it. The whole premise of the book, I mean, the guy was in Auschwitz, which was the most brutal concentration camp in the Holocaust. And he found gifts from that experience. Meanwhile, people, because they couldn't manage their mind because they were under extreme stress and adversity, gave up.
Well, he created a purpose for himself, which is the difference between him and those who didn't last.
Yeah.
He created his own purpose by choice, by awareness, by self-consciousness, and he created his own purpose. And so it fueled him to continue on day by day.
Yeah. I was just going to recap what we were talking about up until now, and then I was going to move further.
Okay.
Yeah. So going back to how to manage stress, and we're talking about like extremely stressful life situations, not like, oh my God, I have a deadline, I'm stressed. But that could come into play. But I'm talking like, based on the story and experience, like big things. So thing number one is take it one day at a time. Thing number two is set an intention for the day at the start of the day, every single day, so that otherwise you can recalibrate yourself at all given points in time, because especially when the stakes are high, when the levels of stress are higher, we're more likely to have human moments. I'm going to give you guys an example. A lot of times we hear people say, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll start this program in a month from now or 2 months from now because I'm about to go travel overseas, or after, summer when my kids get off of school. And stressful times or times in our lives that have a higher level of complexity are actually the greatest test. The greatest test. So like if someone ever tells me that, I'm like, hey, wouldn't you rather know how to navigate, let's say, your nutrition or your workouts when you are out of your environment, so that by the time you get to your environment, it's 10x easier. You know what I mean? So setting an intention. After we set an intention, we're allowing ourselves to recalibrate on a minute-to-minute basis, and then also realizing that our attitude is a choice as we go through these human moments, which happen for all of us. Yeah. So then let's go deeper. How were Erin and I able to...
First, I want to talk about, I've been waiting very patiently.
Okay, go.
But first, I want to talk about, how does stress impact you? Like, why does any of this even matter? I'm trying to get my face out of this fancy...
Do you want me to move to the side a little bit more?
No, it's fine. I'll just lean in. How does the inability to handle stress impact your body, your goals, the results you get or don't get? First of all, your body does not know one type of stress from another. So there's just this big bucket of stress. Everything goes into it. And if it's fitness, if it's physical, if it's mental, if it's emotional, if it's spiritual, any of it, all of it is stress. Even if you're training and you're doing some sick deadlifts and then some life-altering Bulgarian split squats, because that's what they are. Let's call it that. It's stress, but you're like, yeah, but this is good for me to work out. True, sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's still stress. And your body can't be like, oh, good stress, bad stress. It's just stress. And so your cortisol levels go higher. You don't sleep as well. You don't recover as well. Your body wants to store fat, has a hard time losing fat, has a hard time gaining muscle because you can't recover, makes you hungrier, gives you cravings. Do you want that? Didn't think so. So let's figure out how to manage it and handle it. I don't even want to say manage it, because it's like when you're a manager, things still exist. Let's handle it so it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I said something to you and I was very mindful. I was like, oh, it gives me like what I wanted to say unconsciously was, it gives me anxiety when. What I said consciously was, I'm more tempted to be anxious when. Okay. So this is me. I'm handling it in the moment with my words, saying, I'm more tempted to be stressed, anxious, whatever. But to me, I was like, I know that I have the power to control this. And it's challenging for me. And I'm acknowledging the challenge right now. So those are all of the ways that our bodies are impacted, probably in ways that we don't want or appreciate when we are stressed. So the significance of handling this. Do you want to have less cravings? Awesome. Do you want to have better sleep? Awesome. Do you want all of the hard work that you put into the gym to actually show? Awesome. Handle it. Do you want to, what were the other things I said? Do you want to be in a better mood? Handle your stress. What else did I say?
You said a lot of things. That's
said
right.
all of those things.
Lower appetite.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we can continue on. And part of also like what yesterday, the whole situation. So let me go into then, we're not going to Israel.
Just an FYI, we have a few minutes.
We're not going to Israel. However, we are still going on a trip because our intention was to have a time together where we're going out of the country, something that even if we continue to do work here and there, feels vacation-y together.
We're sticking to the intention.
Where we can be present. And so we rerouted our trip, but yet we're like waiting for some other decisions because we still want to be able to hang out with family. So we're like, okay, well, there's all these different elements. We've got these tickets. We've got this ticket here. We've got that ticket there. We've got, these people involved. And so I'm like, I need to make a decision because, like it's 4 days from now. And every day that goes by, like I am more tempted to be anxious, having a hard time living now instead of in the future because I've got all these things on my mind. Mm-hmm. So what I did for one is I was very consciously aware of my choice of thoughts. What am I thinking about? This isn't going to happen. That isn't going to happen. Ultimately, where I got to go with myself is trust. Everything works out perfectly the way that it needs to. Everything works out perfectly. The only moment that I have is right now. This is the internal dialogue that I had over the last couple of days. I'd go back and forth, but it's like a tug of war where I'm like, but I got to make these decisions or else this is going to happen and ticket prices are going to go up and then we'll be seeing us. We won't be, our plans are going to, and then I'm like, everything's perfect. Everything works out exactly how it's supposed to be. Like live right now. The only moment is right now. And it's like a tug of war. But I'd rather be in that conscious, like, back and forth than just a spiral event because I'm not aware of myself. So the first thing, I feel like the first thing in so many different things is awareness. Become aware. Where are your feet? Where are your thoughts? What's controlling your thoughts? Is it a story from the past, fear of the future? Or are you controlling your thoughts? Are you telling yourself the story that you choose?
So
Yeah.
that, and then beyond that, how do we manage stress? And I'll tell you this: having a routine and sticking to it. Because here's the thing. I remember a long time ago when I was not consistent with my routine, and therefore I did not have a routine.
It's chaos.
Whenever I was stressed out, I also created self-imposed stress. Because let's say if I was stressed out about a final that was coming up, or let's say I had an argument with my parents, I would self-sabotage unknowingly, and that would create even more stress. So then the one stressor that I first had now became a double stressor because I felt that feeling of shame and guilt, and I didn't feel good in my body because I was bloated and I felt like I couldn't button up my skirt for my ridiculous high school uniform and things like that. And like the level of stress that was already high got magnified. So where do you go from here? For those of you guys who are in our programs, whether it's the Peak Physique or the $1 Million Body Society, obviously you have your plan. So my encouragement to you is stick to your plan. For those of you guys who are listening, and if you're not currently in our programs, like find one thing that you can hold on to, because you'll want to start with one. You know what I mean? Like I have a bunch of techniques to ground myself. And that's why even on a 10 out of 10 level of stress, I will not falter because I've been trained. I've trained my way up for years, right? But if you have not trained yourself, you want to start with one thing that can anchor you. And I would honestly...
How about we do this? We go over different like techniques and things that we do.
Yeah.
And you can choose what things you feel would work best for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
working out.
Let's go back and forth.
Yeah, working out is huge because it also releases endorphins and dopamine, which are like the happy hormones. And whenever you're stressed out, cortisol levels are up, dopamine and endorphins are down. So it's actually going to help you to stabilize that. So I'm a big proponent of working out, which is why I did not miss any workouts. You better believe I won't, especially during these times. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is when I need my therapy the most. So that's one.
And it's also stress. So something else that you can do is prioritize your recovery. So prioritize going to bed at an earlier time. If you can't wake up at a later time, but one or the other, put some time on the back end or the front end or both. And practice different types of, just to go with the prioritizing your recovery. This can be anything while you're awake. It can be foam rolling. It can be stretching. It can be cold therapy, warm therapy, massage, any of those things. Or while you're sleeping, you can practice different things that will help you get a better quality of sleep. The obvious one is getting more sleep, is going to bed earlier, waking up later, whatever. But also you can dim the lights after sunset so that the mood comes down in the house. You can take a sleep supplement. I'm not talking about the kind that just pass you out like a Benadryl or something. You're just unconsciously
artificial sleep.
Artificial sleep. Yeah. I'm talking about like legit sleep supplements. Making sure you're hydrated. You can meditate before bed. You can put on some quiet meditation type music or whatever.
Or commit to a certain amount of hours of sleep. So
that's what I'm saying. More and better quality. Two different ways to prioritize recovery.
True. And I feel like a lot of people don't actually know how much sleep they should get. So what if they get 4 hours? You know what I mean?
Anything more than what you get now, if that's the thing, is the thing.
True. But let me just give you like a framework to lead with. 7 hours of sleep is something that you want to strive for every day, at least.
7 hours of sleep time or time in bed?
Sleep time. Time in bed is not the same as sleep time, because we have wake time, we have sleep cycles, stuff like that. So good morning, Deb. Good to see you here. So you want to focus on that as well. Okay. Shall we give a couple more?
Yeah, now you go with one.
Okay, so something that grounds me every single day is prayer and gratitude every single morning. Because when I am able to honor the gifts that I have, it allows me to focus on what I already have, and it allows me to create more of that, versus especially during stressful situations. Those are the times when it's easiest to become victim. You know what I mean? So being especially intentional during those times, what we focus on expands, allows me to focus on that, which in turn can help me to create more of that, regardless of what my external situation looks like in the moment.
Prayer and gratitude, I feel like is like a double whammy, because prayer can be one, gratitude can be one. I was going to say, just grab any random piece of paper. You can even throw it away when you're done, but just like write down 3 things that you're grateful for, because gratitude changes your attitude.
Yeah.
So the last one that I have for now for this episode is a phone a friend who can do what we call hold the bucket. Okay, I'm not talking about call a friend that loves to hear you complain, so then they can complain back to you, and then you can like share each other's drama and complaining and victim stories. No, I'm talking about a friend who's like, all right, you got 2 minutes, spew it out, puke it out. I'm holding the bucket and your hair, and then when we're done, we're going to move on. Like a friend who will have the ears to hear you say what you're going to hear, but not play into you being a victim to your circumstances. This friend is a true friend when they say, okay, wonderful. All of that is valid. And how do we move forward now? You got it all out, right? It's out. It's no longer inside you. You feel better when you puke, right? Feel sick, you puke, you don't feel sick anymore.
Yeah, okay? This is really powerful what you're sharing.
So a good friend will let you puke it out, won't judge you for it, won't judge you for it, important. And then say, okay, beautiful. Take a deep breath. What now?
Yeah.
Okay, because now we get to move forward.
Yeah. And this is the power of staying plugged in the community. And you'll hear Erin say that all the time, because who you have around you matters. And not everyone knows how to hold the bucket. People who are thinking and are playing the game, because they're in it too, they can support you during times when you truly need to be supported. Versus, oh, you want to go and drink some alcohol and eat pizza? Like, no, the reason why people turn to drugs and alcohol is because they have suppressed feelings that they haven't let out. When I used to abuse food, is because I had suppressed trauma that I didn't know how to manage. So I mismanaged it. We're all prone to addiction. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being obsessed. It's just that when our obsessions turn into external things that are destructive, it's because we have suppressed thoughts and feelings that are mismanaged. So who you surround yourself with really, really matters. And something in me tells me that some of you guys, this needed to be the one thing that you needed to hear today. Because if you have been lone wolfing your way through this journey, I'll tell you, you can have all the freaking tools in the world. But the one thing that will always trump any tool, I don't care if you have a sauna in your house, a red light therapy like machine, whatever, it's your connections and the depth and strength of your connections, because that's what makes the biggest difference. Everything else, it's all mechanics. Because I'll tell you this, consistency is not what most people think. Consistency thinks, and we actually give this coaching to one of our clients yesterday. Consistency is not being perfect every single day or in a period of time. It's about being intentional and following through with our intention over a long period of time. And the intention can look different. When I was in Israel, my workouts did not look the same. Why? Because I did not have access to a gym. So what did I do? I worked out at the beach, intention over mechanics.
I want to bring up something really important. You could have had access to a gym if you wanted to.
I could have, and I chose not to.
But here, exactly. So here's the important distinction is like, what are the prices I'm willing to pay? You were not willing to pay the price. You also knew you could fulfill the same intention without having that equipment. And so it wasn't worth the price, whatever price, if it's monetary, if it's emotional, if it's going out of your way or whatever. When I was in the nail salon yesterday, a lady sat down to get her toes done. And she's like, they were like, hey, do you want anything to drink? And she's like, no, unless it's a bottle of vodka and a big one.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, we look and we don't judge. We look and we don't judge. But the thought crossed my mind of like, it's so socially acceptable to, by the way, do you like this color? It's so fun.
So pretty.
Okay. It's so socially acceptable and like very a normalized thing to be like, when I'm feeling certain things, I just drink it away. Like, I was like, man, we look and we don't judge, because she also could have been joking. It's like, it's normal. It's a very normalized thing in our society. So she also could have been joking. So I wasn't like judging her. I was just, the thought crossed my mind of like, yes, people do that. And why is it so normalized? That's crazy.
It is normalized. Yeah.
So anyways,
yeah.
Side thought.
So we gave you a lot here, and really just during stressful situations, remember to take one day at a time, one step at a time, set an intention so that you can recalibrate yourself. And if you're in any of our programs, stick to the plan so that you can stick to the plan when life happens. We are a byproduct of this. We've been sticking to the plan for over 10 years. And when stress levels are extreme, and even if I don't have my person by my side, guess what? Nothing faltered. And you can too. Okay, so train yourself to that. And if you're currently not in our programs and you don't have anything to execute on, just choose one of the things that Erin mentioned. And by the way, if you're not in our programs and you want to learn more about our programs, simply just go ahead and drop programs in the chat, and we'll make sure to connect with you and give you more information so that you can make a sound decision. Because ultimately, that's what it's all about. Life is choice. And by the way, my friends, I'll tell you this. People think that our physical journey, whether you want to get fitter, you want to lose weight, you want to have a six-pack, whatever it may be, people think it's a physical journey. Let me tell you something. It's a physical journey in disguise. You think it's physical, but what it actually is spiritual.
Physical is the manifestation of your spiritual and mental journey.
And that's why we believe that you cannot afford to not pursue your highest potential physically, because I know that if you're not pursuing your physical potential, you're not pursuing your potential at all, because the physical, I actually read this today, your body is not your body, it's God's body. So if you're not honoring your body, you're actually not honoring God. Just something for you to think about. We just got deep, huh?
I ain't lost the chew on today. All right, so go chew on it.
Okay, so that being said, this was the final episode for March Espresso.
The Espresso episodes for March.
We will be heading out of the country next week. So when we return,
where are we going is the question.
So when we return, Espresso will resume back on schedule. So be on the lookout for that, and plug in. Stay in here. It's good to see you guys.
And follow our story on Instagram to figure out where we're going.
Much love. Take
All
care,
right,
guys.
see ya.
Have a great week.